Hey guys, what is going on? Inception here, and welcome to another video today. Today, we ended up finishing 34 and 6. 34 and 6, for me personally, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I actually get very happy when I get Elite 1, considering the squads that I'm facing right now. If I started on the road to, or not road to glory, but if I started my series on the PlayStation earlier, I would have had a really sick team by now. So it's totally understandable that a lot of people have God squads nowadays, but it's definitely harder to play Futchamps right now because of all the God squads. And that leads to another topic of discussion, and that is the fact that, you know, like what's the opinion on the current state of FIFA? And I told this to people a lot, and some people will agree and some people will disagree, and this is completely opinion based, but I think that the inclusion of Futchamps has ruined Ultimate Team in general. And the reason being for that is that, you know, FIFA even right now is just not ready for as a competitive game. There's too many specifics of gameplay that just doesn't make the game competitive. There's too many inconsistencies where sometimes there's certain parts of the day where your game feels good, certain parts of the day where your game feels bad, and when your game feels bad, it's no longer skill-based at all. You have to wait until it feels pretty decent. There's way too many concepts to push the competitive aspect, and I really heavily believe that they push the competitive aspect more for profit margins because of, I don't know, if you guys seen like the stream when they did the FIFA esports competition, that stream had like 100K viewers. Call of Duty never touches that. I think the World Championships is when Call of Duty touches that, and it's only when Optic plays, but FIFA had that as a concurrent viewership. So on EA's part, you know, at the end of the day, their profit margins are going up doing stuff like this, doing stuff like the esports competitions, because guys, 100K concurrent viewers is not a joke, right? So, but is the game ready for a competitive state? It's definitely not. And you know, I'm no pro player myself, but a lot of pro players can definitely see it. People have been complaining a lot about it nowadays. The concept of Futchamps is definitely starting to mentally exhaust people because it's just 40 games every weekend, and it is definitely exhausting. 40 games every weekend isn't necessarily the bad thing. The bad thing is that it's Futchamps. The concept of 40 games for Futchamps is bad because anybody can play like 30 games a day of just regular FIFA. If you're just playing like Division 1 and you're just like trying out different squads, or you're just playing for fun, if you lose in that, it's like, oh well, you know, I didn't gain my 3 points, but guess what? I can just play another game and it has no influence on me. It's the influence of winning Division 1 for 15K and stuff is like whatever, right? So it doesn't carry that much weight. But with Futchamps, when you lose, the reason why people get so angry is because it is the only gameplay content that people get, right? They want to be able to finish high so they can get really good red cards, or they want to get really good rewards so that they can build their teams. So I can definitely see where the frustration comes in with the lack of interest from people during this year. But enough of that. I'm going to talk about the upgrades that I made to the team. We got Laurent Blanc, guys. Laurent Blanc is amazing, okay? We may finish 34 and 6, and there may be weekends where I do worse, but Laurent Blanc, 100,000%, doesn't make sense, but he 100% made a huge difference in my team, guys. I'm telling you guys this right now. This year is the year where it's incredibly apparent that players like icons, like people like Patrick Vieira, Laurent Blanc, Hullet, they make such a huge difference to the way that you play in this game. Laurent Blanc, look at this from Laurent Blanc. Look at him just pacing through people. You think I could do that with Bakayoko? It's just not possible, man. And we created an attacking opportunity from that space that we created with him. He's just so good, guys. Honestly, he's a player that people need to get. People underrate him and say like, oh, 700K, 800K is too much for him. It's not, because he's a great meta CDM to have in your team. He's so good with the medium-high work rates, the heights, the shooting. He's fantastic. I absolutely loved using him. We ended up also getting an OTW Mkhitaryan. Nothing really changes with the card because they didn't really improve his stats that much. Like if you actually look at the Mkhitaryan card, they kind of didn't really touch the card too much. Like the stat increases that they did were incredibly irrelevant, and when they did do it for relevant stats, it was more like a 1 stat boost or a 2 stat boost, so you're not really going to notice that big of a difference, right? So with OTW Mkhitaryan, the reason why I have him is because I can see him doing well in real life in terms of getting assists and scoring, so that's why I ended up putting him as an OTW card, because if he goes higher and he can improve on his finishing and his composure as well as a little bit of the pace, he could definitely be a pretty decent card to have. I also bought him because he's high work rates with a 5-star weak foot, so I feel like that was a big thing for me in terms of me purchasing him, so that's why I ended up getting him. And in all honesty, he actually did quite decently for me. Obviously, he doesn't have the physical concept or the physical aspects that make him, or make the players nowadays, the meta players. But, you know, the 5-star weak foot was definitely very nice. Again, finishing was very inconsistent because his finishing is low. But if you put a Hunter card on it, it will be improved, but it won't be at the level you need in order for you to play consistently in Futchamps. But he was quite a decent, he was a good card, right? I also bought OTW Tolisso. Reason being for that is because I kept an Inform Tolisso, and it's literally a 10k difference from an Inform Tolisso to an OTW Tolisso. So I was like, I think it's better we get the OTW Tolisso just in case he gets another Inform and that card that I have improves, which is very hard because, you know, a player like Tolisso being a midfielder, it's tough for players like him to be able to get Informs because it's all about like scoring and assists, right? So it'll be very hard for him. But if he does end up getting an Inform, the price will go up on an OTW card. So I think it's definitely better for me to just spend the extra 10k, which is honestly like 3/4 of the way of a Division 1 win. So I was like, you know, I might as well do it. But again, the team played pretty well, guys. Futchamps was stressful as it usually was. Nothing too crazy happened. Just a lot of passing opportunities. I'm still really annoyed with the 1v1 finishing because the way that people score against you in this game, they really had to make the 1v1 finishing more consistent. I did so many passing opportunities. I think you guys will see in one of the clips in this game where I show highlights of me creating 2 very good opportunities and the goalies just do the craziest leg saves, which they honestly shouldn't be doing because of how many types of really dumb goals that people can score in this game. So you should definitely be rewarded for crafting an attacking play rather than people scoring from ridiculous angles. Or, you know, if a shot goes through my legs or someone scores a near post corner header on me or any of those types of goals, I don't mind, but as long as your 1v1 finishing is consistent, then I would be okay with it. But because it's not, that's where my anger comes from when I play Futchamps. So generally speaking, very frustrating, of course. But yeah, dudes, the team played really well. The only difference that I made to the team, which was a pretty big difference that I had to do, was I changed the tactics a little bit. Reason why I changed the tactics a little bit was because Laurent Blanc is medium-high and Tolisso is high-medium. So there was a huge misbalance from the other tactics that I use because of those 2 aspects of the players. You know, when you have someone that has, you know, medium-high and then you have someone that has high-medium, it's a very weird thing to have. I think in the future, if I were to get a CDM like Petit, who has high work rates, or a Patrick Vieira as a left center defensive mid, I think that, oh, this is the examples of the 1v1s, where I craft beautiful plays and it just doesn't go in. If I get a better CDM that has high work rates or medium-high work rates, I feel like the team would definitely move a little better. It's not even the team, it's the midfield, because I always tell people that I genuinely think that a midfield is what wins you games. If you can have a solid midfield, a good CDMs, that's what will win you the games, because you can survive with players like Martial, Mkhitaryan, and Willian, or any of those types of guys, right? Sometimes they'll miss the finishing aspect where they finish most of the opportunities, but if you have a strong midfield that can defend really well for you, I feel like that's more important than anything. So the next improvement on the squad that I definitely want to do is the CDM area, but it will take some time because CDMs are quite expensive, and I think players like Patrick Vieira and stuff, I think they're in the million coin range, so I would have to get some crazy rewards. There's a striker Ronaldo that's coming out next week, so we could actually end up getting a striker Ronaldo, which is highly improbable, but you know, it's definitely like the chance that I'm willing to take, right? So you never know, dude. If I get like a striker Ronaldo from Elite 1, that would be insane, dude. I don't even know if I would sell him a striker Ronaldo. But, you know what? No, I probably would sell him because a striker Inform Ronaldo would cost so much. I would just get a regular Ronaldo to sub on so I can have a 6 striker. And then I would just, like, I would have a really good striker up top. And then I would get, like, a good CDM. Oh, dude, I would sell him so quick. What am I thinking? But, yeah, dudes, you know, Futchamps right now, it's a little bit, like, it's hard to play because I can do well in it. I can get Elite 1. But it's very stressful to play, guys. Like, I feel like the game is pushing away from the fun concept than it is, like, I don't know how to explain it, guys. I feel like a lot of people feel this way. Like, the game, it's hard to have fun in this game now because of how competitive it is. Like, when you play Division 1, everyone uses meta squads to practice for Futchamps, and there's not even that many people that play Division 1 nowadays because everyone is only playing during Futchamps. During the weekends, because the weekdays there's really nothing to play for. So it brings another question where it's like, hey, it's like, what's the point of playing Futchamps if people during the weekdays don't even play the game? Because the point for me in Futchamps is getting the rewards, getting a good team, and then having fun in the weekdays. But then people don't really play during the weekdays, and I find the same people in Division 1 all the time. So it's like, what am I to do, you know? So, and then drafts are just completely a waste of time to do. I don't even bother with drafts anymore, guys. I used to play so many drafts. You guys know this. On my Xbox account, I have so many games played on draft, but it just seems like such a waste of time, man. Like, you spend 15K, you win the draft, you don't make money back, and it's just like, well, the way that I see it is, like, I put myself through way too much stress during Futchamps to just throw that money that I got from Futchamps away playing drafts. So that's why it's kind of just like a waste of time of playing. People aren't really interested in watching drafts anyways, in terms of the gameplay or even just the draft concept. So that's why I stopped doing that. People are really into player reviews and squad reviews, so I might do a player review on the icon Shevchenko. I'm not sure if people would be interested in that. I know it's kind of late for me to post a video like that, but I definitely will consider doing it because I know people like seeing that kind of stuff. Like the squad review that I did for the team that I currently have, or not currently have, but the team that I had prior to the team that I have right now, people really like that. So I'll definitely look into making more videos like that, maybe cheaper options, maybe around like the 200K mark, stuff like that, to see if people would enjoy it. But yeah, guys, so many people have God squads nowadays, man. It's so hard to play against these teams. This is the year of FIFA, guys, where the God squads make the biggest difference in this game, man, because of how overpowered AI defense is. That's why these players are so good. Like, when people have like the Ruud Gullits, the Patrick Vieira's, like, they can defend poorly, but these types of players will save them in this game, right? They will basically do stuff for them instead of the player actually doing it themselves, right? So it's definitely a very frustrating concept, but again, it is my fault because I should have started this year on the PlayStation. If I started on the PlayStation this year, I would have had a really solid team by now, because I would have played Futchamps consistently every single weekend, and then I would have had such a good squad right now. But yeah, guys, we did get very fortunate with some of the games, but then we got super unlucky in some of the games. Like, I think 2 or 3 of the games we conceded in the 85th, 86th minute, not even down to like defensive errors. I defended really well, and people just got deflections that landed right back to them. Like, I think 3 of the games in the 85th or 86th minute, I defended well. My player did this like lunge mechanic. It hit off his body, and it would go literally right back to the opposition player's foot, and I would be like, well, I'm basically screwed. But yeah, guys, we did end up clutching it up near the end, getting Elite 1. This weekend was very tough. We ended up playing 32 games. I don't know if I said that before, but we ended up playing 32 games in a day, which was mentally exhausting to play against all these people with their God squads and just the Futchamps concept. I was so tired, guys. Like, I was literally running on fumes during the last few games, or running out of fumes actually, because I was literally dead the moment I finished, man. The moment I finished, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna end my stream, go eat, come back tomorrow. So but yeah, guys, we did end up finishing on 34 wins. This weekend was stressful. I hope that in the future EA just makes fun game modes in this game, because Futchamps is just way too stressful to play, because this game is just not ready for competitive, and I hope that EA do adjust that in the future. But that is going to conclude the video in terms of the game highlights. I will show you guys a team right now. So this is the team that we ended up using, guys. Again, same kind of team we used before, but we had Laurent Blanc and Mkhitaryan added to the team. Reason why I added Mkhitaryan to the team is because he has the high work rate, so it works out really nicely to put him on the left mid side because he has that 5-star weak foot. His finishing is 78, which is a little bit lackluster, but if you give him a 100 card, his finishing will be a little bit better. 80 composure isn't the best for the Futchamps concept, because in Futchamps you need your players to literally be perfect, right? Because sometimes he'll have opportunities that he'll miss because he doesn't have high composure or high enough finishing. Same goes for Gabriel Jesus and Martial. But we do end up starting off the team with this formation. It's the 4-3-3. I think the next improvement I'll make to the squad is probably buying a De Gea and maybe inform Firmino. The reason being is because I don't think I'll be able to afford a better CDM, because I want to be able to do that, but I don't think I'll be able to afford it. If I get a better CDM, it would have to be someone along the lines of someone like Petit or a Patrick Vieira to link up with Laurent Blanc, so I can have a really good balance with the work rates, because, you know, high-medium with a medium-high CDM for both of your CDMs doesn't really work out really nicely. I had to change the tactics a little bit, and I'll show you guys exactly how I change the tactics. So the way that I rotate with this team is like this. So I switch to the 4-2-3-1 bracket 2, because that formation is very good at attacking and defending in terms of a good balance. Laurent Blanc we put over here to the right side, Tolisso here, Martial up top as a striker, Gabriel Jesus as the right striker. So we both have the high work rated players on the sides. I need to try out players who are high-medium, but they need to be very specific, right? It has to be players that have the physical capabilities, the pace capabilities to be able to come back in defense when you actually ask them to come back in defense. So the way that the instructions are set up is pretty much the normal circumstances that I usually do. I use stay back while attacking for the fullbacks. I use stay back while attacking for the CDMs. The right mid and the left mid are comeback on defense. This is because when the center backs or the fullbacks push into the area as center backs, you want to be able to have your right mid and left mid block that area that you're missing. The cam, same typical thing, stay on the edge of the box. So it's very situational when I'm playing against someone. When I notice that I have a little bit of a gap in the cam area and I want my player to come back in defense more, basically leaving me a little bit more vulnerable in the attack because it won't really provide that much and I really need to build it up for myself, I will tell him to come back in defense. But normally I keep him on balance so I can have somewhat of an attacking presence up top. And in the striker, I usually just keep him on balance until I realize what I need to do against certain opponents. Because sometimes when you're facing people, it's actually best to have your striker to push out wide or to be more central. You know, it really depends on the person that you're facing, right? But this is the typical team that we use. We did a couple of tactic changes. I believe I decreased the speed of the build-up play. I decreased the passing by a little bit. I decreased the shooting, I think, by 1, which I know for some people they're gonna be like, whoa, dude, you're crazy. 1 doesn't make a difference. It does for me personally. I think I changed the pressure and aggression a little bit too, so that I can have more of a balance between the defense and the midfield, again, so that they're not super far separated from each other. Laurent Blanc has a really good balance of the way he positions himself with the fullback, with the back four, but Tolisso doesn't because of the high medium work rates. Although that's why I changed the custom tactics to have lower speed and a little bit lower passing, because of players like Tolisso who are my CDMs but with high medium work rates. So I switched that out a little bit just so I can avoid that a little bit more. Like I said, guys, when I was playing these games, the moment you get players like Laurent Blanc in your team as your CDMs, Tolisso, I was raving about him last weekend, right? But when I got Laurent Blanc, I'm like, dude, Tolisso is nowhere near as good as Laurent Blanc. So I definitely need to upgrade that CDM spot eventually. The attacking force with Firmino, again, with Firmino, the lack of pace is a big deal. I think if I got improvements like a Ruud Gullit as a cam, and for the CDM to put like a Petit or a Patrick Vieira, I think I would already be happy with that. Obviously, I would lack in the finishing department, but having a Gullit and a Patrick Vieira, I feel like would change his team completely, right? I would have to change out the center back because Boateng doesn't feel nearly as good as Bai. Bai is an absolute monster in this game, but Boateng doesn't feel nearly as good. He feels too tankish. The way he moves on the ball or not on the ball, off the ball. When he turns, he's kind of like a little bit too sloppy, right? Alaba is really, really good, but lacks in the physical department. So if people go for those far post crosses, he's not going to be able to outbody people. Whereas someone like Valencia actually can outbody people, but he doesn't have the jumping capabilities to win the headers most of the times, right? Sometimes I go for crosses against to my left mids and right mids, and they're in openings, but because they don't have that physical capability where they can jump in the air really nicely and head the ball into the back of the net, it definitely lacks in that aspect where I can score more headers when I know that someone on the far post is open. So that kind of sucks that I can't do that with these types of players. But again, you do the best under the circumstances that you're under. So those are the instructions and tactics that we ended up doing in the team. Laurent Blanc has been a phenomenal improvement on the team. OTW Mkhitaryan doesn't feel any different to his regular card. In all fairness, they didn't really change his stats that much. They improved it by like 1 in the important stats and 2 in stats that you shouldn't really care about, right? There's certain stats that they improved on him. The most important with Mkhitaryan right now is improving his pace, his finishing, and his composure. So if he gets more inform cards, that's the things that I'm hoping that they improve on, because, you know, his physical being 71 is already lackluster, because if they improve the strength and aggression, it won't change too much, but the stamina being 87 is quite nice. So yeah, Laurent Blanc, easily the best player on my team. No one touches this guy. He's just an absolute god in the midfield. I wish to have better players, but again, my fault, because I started on the Xbox. I should have started on the PlayStation. Would have had a really, really good squad by now. But we'll work towards having a better squad to be a little bit more meta for Futchamps. But that is going to conclude the video today. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys did, please drop a thumbs up on it, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.